Welcome back to Purpose Over Profits podcast. My name is Jeremy Powers, and we've got not again, Jim Floyd had some things come up, but we are going to have some fun anyway. We've got an awesome guest here with us today, and I want to let you introduce yourself.
What's up? I'm Johnny Hawley. I run the Headshot Studio, and so I do pictures of people's faces. And I appreciate you having me. Every time I get to talk to you, I leave encouraged and inspired, and so I'm looking forward to
Hey,
what we're
I
going to talk about.
appreciate that. If anyone would have called out of this episode, I thought it would have been me because I my joke to my in my business realm with all my friends is, I'm only the face of our agency anymore. I'm very blessed to have a team that does all the quoting and all the back end and this, that, and the other. I'm like, I'm the face, but I don't even have a pretty face, so I don't know where I fit in. Jim, on the other hand, he's a handsome fellow, so I figured
Oh
if
yeah,
anything, he would have been here. You had a chance to meet Jim in the past. We all went to Bency Beals. We went to that conference together. John
that's
Maxwell.
right. Yeah,
So was able to introduce you guys, and I know he was very excited that you were going to be on the episode today. So I'm sure he's
awesome,
missing out.
cool
Little do I
deal.
know, maybe he's already like has a modeling contract or something, and you're his agent. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna have to get him
You
into
know.
the studio and shoot him. He's a handsome fella.
That's right, man. Well, no, I would say the same thing with you. What I love is your just blunt honesty. And that's one thing I think that we can appreciate from each other is that, we don't sugarcoat anything. We're just like, dude, like, let's just get together, let's talk. And we're gonna we leave encouraged. It's like, okay, here's somebody else who's willing to say it like it is. And that's exactly what I want people on this today to see.
Okay.
Because once again, I think you're okay with me admitting this isn't your forte. You like to be behind the camera,
Oh,
not
absolutely.
in front of it. And so, but I also think that there's a superpower in that because there are a lot of people that listen to this that they're going to be encouraged by you doing this. And I think that it's always when we have an opportunity to grow. Not many times in life, like I tell my children all the time when they're maybe scared of this or that, but not many times in life do we have an opportunity to literally grow
For
in
sure.
our capacity to take on these things in front of us. And so, what a great opportunity, man. So, I want to dive right in and just ask you, what is it that you do?
Yeah. So at the Headshot Studio, I take pictures of people's faces, right? And so there's really three uh, times when somebody's going to need a headshot, right? And so whether it's a professional or a professional personality, and they're doing speaking engagements or they're featured in press releases a lot. So our standard session is you can come in, we'll shoot up for 2 hours, and we'll give you a bunch of variety and a bunch of different outfits on a bunch of different backgrounds, and you can purchase what you like. And that's great for people that need a variety of different styles of images, right? They want to show their themselves in a casual environment, a professional environment, and then have different type of stuff that they can use for promotional materials,
Hmm.
right? Some people just want a headshot for LinkedIn because they're on the job search,
Yeah.
right? They're about to be on the job search, or they are. Um, and then we sell to businesses, right? And so a business may need updated headshots for their team. We can come on site. They can come to the studio. We've got a new hire program where we can come on site to you, photograph your entire team, and do headshots. We can also do full body portraits as well. And then as your team grows and evolves, we can set you up a private link on our website where your new hires, you can give them that link and they can just book a time that's convenient for them to come into the studio, and we'll get an updated headshot that's consistent and matches everything else. And then something we're starting to do is virtual composites for your group photo. And so a lot of teams are distributed or remote, and sometimes staff changes, right?
Hmm.
And so as you have staff leave or you onboard new staff, it's just a pain to update that photo, right? And so you'll see this a lot in sports. We're seeing it more with insurance and real estate teams, but a virtual composite where we'll take a background and we'll composite all of your team members together. And so as you have team members rotate off and new team members come on, we can rebuild that team photo without having to get everybody back together to
Yeah.
rephotograph it.
That's an incredible, as an Eagles fan, you should probably reach out to the Giants because Saquon is now an Eagle, so they might need a new compository themselves. But all jokes aside, that's an incredible thing. And ultimately what I want to backtrack because that's where you are today.
Sure.
I want to know, like, because you're an entrepreneur, and I think you would consider yourself a little bit more of an introvert, which those usually don't go together very well. And so, number one, I want to talk about how did you end up taking a leap to take a chance on yourself? And I don't think this is all you do. There's some
Right.
other aspects to that as well. So take me back a step and let's unpack that.
For sure. Yeah, I've had like way too many jobs that I care to admit. I've done everything from live production to web development and photography. And so I worked for some web development companies. I've done that freelance. I worked for a commercial photographer. And a lot of times that led to, hey, what are we going to do with these images? We need to put on our website. We got to work with clients to rebuild their website and use those images we were taking. And in 2019, I got an opportunity to go out on my own and take a contract working with a great friend. And it was like the perfect opportunity to leap out and start on my own. And I've been doing web development. That's primarily what I do.
Mhm.
But the headshot studio is certainly taking up a good bit of time now, and that's really growing, and so that's good. But one of the things in 2019 when I started on my own that I'm having to learn. Oh, I've been on this learning journey,
Yeah.
right? And it's
Yeah.
like, man, I really didn't know what I was getting into. And I feel like a lot of people will start a business because they want to do the thing and
Yeah.
not realizing that they're also signing up to be a business person.
That's right.
And those are two fundamentally different things, right? And man, I've made some mistakes and I'm learning a lot as I go. Um, but yeah, it's working out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely seems to be, and that's my biggest thing is that like coming at it. I had an interesting conversation years ago. I paid to have some help with some bookkeeping, like understanding how to in the insurance space. What should you be spending here? Is a course called Agency CFO, and I know I have a lot of insurance friends who listen to this podcast as well. But one of the things a gentleman said to me, he said, "Jeremy, I want you to understand the reason that you're successful so early is because you're so focused on relationships and getting the deals done." He said, you're putting money in the bank. We don't know where it's going to go or who it needs to go to and all this stuff. No, he said, but the problem, but like what the problem for that everyone fails is because they run out of money. You're creating now. We just have to create a process to make sure it goes where it should,
Sure.
and so it's a very different aspect because I am so far away. I think our agency has great processes. I think over the years, my team went from being nervous to shoot video because we do that for every single
Right.
client that comes into our office to now they get 5 compliments a week on how great they are. And they now don't ever complain to me about, or hey, I don't want to do this or hey, I don't want that. So, processes is not something that comes naturally to me, but I have to work so hard to force myself to create these processes as to where the natural thing for me is luckily the moneymaker.
Right.
Okay. And so what inspires me about an introvert, I'm actually very jealous of introverts, if I can be completely transparent, is because if you can allow yourself to take on uh, um the persona of someone like myself who is an extrovert, you are literally Superman in my opinion because the processes and when you're alone, you're able to a lot of people that I know that are that they're able to be focused, they're able to be process driven, their back end is polished up, and then they've also figured out how to put on the hat to get the sales come in so they know every aspect of it. I think it's like a life hack
Yeah.
as to where for me what you see is what you get. I'm just like, ooh, a butterfly. You know what I mean? Like, so it is something that I have a lot of respect for, but a lot of businesses, like in my profession, most people in the insurance space are introverted individuals.
Right.
Um, and so that's why over 90% of people within 3 years fail in my industry. And so that's the one thing that I say to you is like, man, like it's so awesome. You're here where you are, but not only that, you've allowed yourself to pivot.
For sure.
And if we can get that Friends theme, Daniel, that little pivot, we can get that like cut off right there, but in all seriousness, no, it's just really neat because the you that I met that helped me do some really cool SEO type things, that's completely changed in a matter of 12 months.
Sure.
And you're doing some incredible things. And I absolutely love your marketing.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
One of the I don't remember where I heard this, but back I used to work for New Spring Church, and we talked about leadership all the time. And one of those guys, said, um, being introverted and extroverted is not necessarily about your personality as much as it is about how you rest and recover,
Mm.
right? And I've learned that to be true for me, right? I like to I get refueled when I'm by myself and in the quiet and literally nothing's going on in my brain. And Lindsay's like, "What are you thinking about?" I'm like, "Nothing." And she's like, "That's not possible." I'm like, "Yes, it is. It's amazing." Um, and so that's how I rest and recover. But being a part of BNI and learning to I've learned so much through being a part of BNI and interacting with other businesses
Mhm.
and business owners like yourself. Um, you just have to get over the fear of talking to people and sounding like weird, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
like, I may sound like a babbling fool today, but uh,
Listen, I'm living
over,
proof that weirdness is okay. I'm
yeah,
living proof.
it's all good, and like, it's everybody
Mhm.
is nervous to talk in front of somebody at some point,
Yeah,
right? And the thing is, like, just don't stop,
yeah,
right? It's like, it's important, do it. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's okay. Keep going. You'll
yeah.
get better over time. I don't
100%.
think anybody is just born naturally talented to be a great singer or a great pianist or a great guitar player,
You
right?
must not have met Jim Floyd, like, and really he was kinda born just, like, knowing
He's
everything.
just he's just amazing.
The dude's an
All
absolute
these guys
hero.
that are great, they've put in 10,000 hours to learn, like, to get good at what they do,
Yeah,
right? And I think the same thing is true about, you can be great at what you wanna be great at. You
yeah.
just gotta put in the work.
No, and one of the only quotes that I'll ever be known for, and it just means the world to me. And I've said it to so many, whether it's coaching clients or friends, or especially in the BNI realm. When I changed it. It's called the closer, but I changed it to the connector because I
Okay.
think a connector is so much better. Like I'm not trying to close anyone. I'm not trying to strong arm them to do something. I'm a connector. I want to connect you to the people in the room that are going to make BNI worth it for you.
For sure.
And so the one thing that I've always say to people is butterflies create beautiful moments. Like if you don't have that little bit of nervousness before you stand up, are you really living purpose over profits?
Yeah,
Like
for
I
sure.
don't want to ever lose that little bit of the butterflies because those butterflies mean that you have passion, that you care about what you're about to say, that you want to articulate it, that you want to help people understand how intentional you are behind what the words that are coming out of your mouth. And that is why I tell everyone if you're not a little nervous, if you don't have a little bit of, I would ask you, do you really genuinely care about the people you're saying it to or what you're selling or what you're speaking on? And so I think that what you were just saying kind of embodies that. Is that butterflies create beautiful moments and don't ever lose that,
Yeah,
or
I like that.
think less of yourself because I just can't walk onto a stage and like, we've all seen plenty of speakers who've done it 100 times, but they're giddy in the back because it means something to them. And that's what I've learned. Like Brendan Burchard is one of my favorite ever. He's like top of the line with me if I could mirror someone's game. Him and Craig Rochelle, they're just
Mhm.
like it. But Brendan Burchard is just very much like he's open and honest about how nervous he gets before every engagement, and I love that because it helps me say, Jeremy, this is normal,
For sure.
And I love when people share their inadequacies, and not that it really is, but share their things like, hey, I'm not perfect. I mean, for me, that's why I love this podcast. That's why we created this from thin air, is because we want to be that for someone,
For sure.
and that's exactly what you're doing. But going back to really the professionalism that you bring, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. You've niched down so much, which is vital. Whenever we're talking about that, it's incredible because it's allowed you to create such professional content. I mean, I can't see this not being an industry that's going to boom for you because not only do you use all of your background to like enhance it and make it look extremely like amazing, but also you've niched down so much that like your one thing is your one thing. Can
For
you
sure.
talk about the importance of that and how you got there?
Yeah, so, I love taking pictures, right? I've got the gear. I've worked for a commercial photographer, and like, but everybody likes to take pictures, right?
Mhm.
And like, I Lindsay was like, "You've got to make money doing this, right?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, no, you're right. Uh, I've got gear acquisition syndrome, gas, right? And it's a real problem. We all want the latest toys and that kind of stuff. But I
I love
started,
that.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
got
I've
gas,
got
gear acquisition
gear
syndrome.
acquisition syndrome. Daniel knows what I'm talking about. It's a real thing for
Yeah,
us.
you've got gas? I was like
All right, back on track.
Yeah.
So when I think about photographers, right? And you get on any community Facebook group, you're going to see somebody inevitably say, "Hey, I need a photographer for whatever," right? And then you're going to see 200 comments
Mhm.
recommending 150 different photographers, right? And I just don't want to compete with
Yeah.
just I'm a photographer, right?
Mhm.
And You know, I think by niching down and just doing headshots, it's allowed me to really focus on one thing and create a distinct look for my product
Yeah,
that's easily recognizable, and it helps me stand out, right? And so I'll meet people and be like, "Oh, you're the headshot dude."
that's
Yeah,
right.
you know? And so, I think there's definitely an advantage there. So
100%. Now, how did because what we want to do is we want to help create actionable content for a photographer or for a mechanic who is listening to this podcast and wants better for themselves. How did you find yourself in a position where you said, "This is working"? I did you just create it and then you went after it, or did you see a need and then you just pushed forward with that?
no, so there's a YouTuber, his
Okay.
name's Peter Hurley, he's like the headshot guy, he's got a studio in New York, and he's got an online community that you can pay to be a part of, it's called the Headshot Crew. He's got 1,500 photographers across the world that he's trained just to do headshots, and he's been doing it for forever, his look is amazing, and so I joined his group, I've gone to some of his training like, in-person training events, and I met these people, and I'm like, "They are crazy." They're crazy, right? Like, they're super excited about headshots, and these people are making, like, a living doing just headshots. There's no way. This is ridiculous. And, you know, I just sat back and I learned, I
Hmm.
listened, and I watched a lot. And, um, you know, it's you learn a lot
Yeah.
by listening and
And
watching other
and
people, right?
pause really quick. I want to golden nugget alert. We hadn't had a golden nugget alert in a while, guys, but he said you listened, you sat back, you listened, you learned, and you just paid attention. You
Just watch what other people
listened,
are
you
doing.
learned, you paid attention, and you weren't scared to you weren't scared to imitation's the best form of flattery.
Sure.
You weren't scared to invest in yourself. We've got to stop seeing investing in ourselves as a bill. It's not a bill. It is an investment. Like your 401k, you're going to hope it goes up. Like planting a seed, you're going to hope it grows a harvest. No one plants a seed to get one. They plant a seed to get a harvest.
For
And
sure.
so I just think that's what you said. I would ask you guys rewind it 10, 15 seconds and listen to that again because I think that was a golden nugget that we just needed to hear again.
Yeah, and, you know, um, as a photographer or creative or whatever you wanna call it, right? Uh I've seen so many people that are obsessed with the work that they create,
Mhm.
right? And at the end of the day, I could care less about whether I like the image that I just took, right? Because if I'm gonna do this as a business, my job is not to create the image that I like the most, it's to sell images. My
Mhm.
job is to sell images, right? And so I've had to figure out a pricing structure that enables me to do that and
Mhm.
make good money doing it. And I've had to figure out what you know the customer wants,
Mhm.
and the customer wants to come in and have a great experience. And so when you come into the studio, it's less about me knowing what to do behind the camera and turn this style and press this button at the right time and turn this light this way. It's 20% photography and 80% psychology,
Mm.
right? And so I have to get really good at my craft and understand lighting and composition and all of that stuff, and I don't need to think about that when you're in the studio. I need to spend my time interacting with you on a personal
Yeah.
level, building rapport, getting to know you, and then being able to manipulate your emotions and your interactions to get an expression that you're really going to love. And that's what I love about headshots is
Mhm.
I get to meet so many interesting people, right? And I love almost everybody will come in the studio and say, "I'm not photogenic at all. I hate my photos," you know, and they're not excited when they come in. They're like, "I'm having to do this because work told me to or whatever." And it's okay. We're gonna shoot. We're gonna get comfortable. I'm gonna help you figure out all the things, right? Like when you stand up straight, your head's gonna go back and it's gonna create this double chin thing. We've got tricks to fix all that, right? You're gonna feel silly in front of the camera. I'm gonna say things that are gonna make you laugh and make you think that I'm crazy. But it's to get a reaction and an emotion out of you and to be able to turn the computer around and show you a photo and you say, wow, I didn't know I could look like that,
Mhm.
right? And so uh, for me, I love giving people a great experience and letting them see themselves in a way that uh, they didn't think that they looked.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. No, that's incredible. And that's the thing for me as someone on the outside, I don't know that you went to some course and that you had this, that, and there. I think, wow, this guy is a master of his craft. You know what I mean? And so,
Sure.
but yet you're not so proud to pretend that you didn't but also at the same time, like, no one's asking. No one cares how you got there. They just care that you're there. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
for
saying?
sure.
And so I think that that's something I didn't expect to pull out of this. And I'm telling you, someone who knows you, someone who would consider you a friend, who's seen this change, like a lot makes sense now.
Mhm.
But like, no part of me I was just always like, wow, dude, this guy is just, not only are you working with extreme professionals here in our local community, some that you would even quote unquote say celebrity status, this, that, and the other, but like you are like, you've not only worked your way up into that very quickly, in my opinion, from what I can see, you're dominating the space, not in a like an egotistical way, but like, hey, I have learned how to do this. I'm very like, this is what I do.
Mhm.
I'm not, it's about your ideal customer.
For sure.
You have learned what is my ideal customer and what can I do to put myself in the right situation? What networking can I do? What questions can I ask? How can I follow up? Everything you're doing is saying, "Hey, I have an ideal customer. My wife said I've got to make this work, and I'm gonna do that." And I just think that is the what I say the introvert, the one who's willing to sit back and plan and create, but then it's that action. There's one thing when there's planning, there's a second thing to actually put it into action.
For
We
sure.
can all write out a diet plan and a workout schedule, but the thing is we got to, if we don't get up and go to the gym, if we hit snooze on the alarm clock, it doesn't matter what we wrote.
For sure.
Nothing's happening. I'm living proof of that. I'm just like, I'm just like, so
Listen, I'm
it's
rocking the dad bod,
that's
man. I
right.
know. I
So
know it.
well, man, I think it's absolutely incredible. Now, what are for those of I think that's a big struggle. People feeling inadequate about themselves. This other saying, "Hey, photo. I don't want to get my photos taken." This, that, and the other. What would be something that you've seen that you would say to folks like when you have those folks that are come in, then they see those photos. Like, what is it about? Like, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, but like, what is something that you could share with the audience of like, it's worth it. Like, you're worth it. Do it for yourself.
Yeah, so your headshot's your digital handshake, right? It's basically your first impression, right? People are gonna find you online, they're gonna look you up online. I do, I creep on people all the time, right? And so you wanna make a really great first impression. And so you need to find a photographer that has a consistent portfolio, right? And that offers, we call it facial expression coaching, right? And so when you come into the studio, you know that I'm not just going to take a picture of you. I'm going to work with you and you're not going to leave the studio until you have a photo that you love, right? And we're going to shoot until you feel great about your image, right? Because I'm creating I'm helping you create your first impression, right? And I
Yeah,
want it to be
yeah.
good. And if you don't love the way you look, I can't fix it when you leave the studio,
Man,
right?
that's
And
huge.
so we're gonna talk about all the things. I'm gonna shoot a little bit. We're gonna go to the computer. We're gonna look at it. We're gonna talk about, everybody's got an eye difference, right? Some people are super nervous about my left eye is bigger than my right eye, or I don't like this double chin, or whatever, right? And so we're gonna talk about all those things. Confidence comes from the eyes, approachability comes from the mouth, right? So we're going to talk about doing the squinch, which is the tightening of this little tendon in your lower eyelid, right? And so we're going to talk through all the things so that you're going to leave with an image that's professional, confident, and approachable.
Mm.
Or if you want to look like super tough, I can make you look super tough too, right? And so
I
we're
love
going
it.
to do that. And so
Sure.
we're going to talk about what you want. We're going to give you what you want.
Yeah, yeah, that's incredible. Now, I want to go into this is all things that you're doing, but obviously there's a home life. Tell us a little bit about your family, what you guys like to do outside of creeping on people's social
Oh
medias.
man, it is wild at my house. My kids are 5, 4, and 2, and my kids have a combination of mine and my wife's personality, and it's amazing and terrifying. I say that in the best way possible. Olivia is my 5-year-old. She's amazing. Marshall's my 4-year-old. He's into baseball right now.
Okay.
I don't have an athletic bone in my body, and I'm married into a sports family. And so it's been fun to go out to the baseball field and get involved there. And Austin Joy, she's 2.5, and she is just a pistol. And we love any opportunity we get to hang out together, go to the park, whatever.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So any do you feel like any of them have that creative photographer kind of
Oh man, so
Jane?
Olivia, she's 5, right? And so this year for Christmas, she asked for a digital camera
Okay.
and a Polaroid.
Oh,
And so
okay.
she loves going around the house just snapping photos of whatever she can
That's
and her
cool.
little Polaroid. She's got those little frames, little plastic
Yeah.
magnetic frames, and she'll just slap those things all around the house.
That's awesome. There's something great about, I mean, just something wonderful about being a parent. Now, I want to ask you, taking that leap, because this is something that I love to talk about, is were there any expectations that you thought, man, I'm going to do my own business. Things are going to be so easy. I'm going to, do that. Like when you were hit with that hard reality of like, wait a second, I have to wear two hats instead of just the one hat. What was it like taking that leap of faith versus what you thought it would be going into owning your own business into what it actually was?
I was really blessed because when I left my full-time job, I already had something lined up where I knew I was going to be okay, at least for a year or two. And so I had a much easier out than I think a lot of people do when they leave a full-time job to start something from scratch. And so I was really blessed in that manner. But uh, I started just calling people and asking them for advice. Right? I had a buddy, Michael, that we would go to breakfast at Eggs Up Grill on Friday mornings, and then eventually that turned into BNI. And one of the things that people say whatever they want to about BNI, but what I've really enjoyed about it is having connections to other business owners
Hmm.
and having intentional one-on-one conversations with other business owners, not just to get business,
Yeah.
but to learn from other people that
Yeah.
have you know made mistakes, and for me to be able to share the mistakes I've made with somebody else.
I think you would agree. There are people that pay a lot more than, let's just say, $1,000 to go to a weekend mastermind.
Oh, for
You see
sure.
what I'm saying? So I think that it's all about the way. It's all about what you get out of it.
For
I
sure.
think that it is an amazing opportunity to become a better public speaker. To kind of fight some of those things, or maybe you have the nervousness to say no. But for me, mine's on Wednesdays, and I think when everyone else is posting, "Oh, it's Hump Day," I'm getting refueled.
For sure.
The reason that I kick my competition's butt is because I'm energized Monday through Friday. And I put myself in positions, over the past year, this is something I think we need to talk about more. And Jim and I will have more of an episode on this, which will be a little bit different for him. But um, I've started working from home a little bit more often, and I have had to stop
Mhm.
because I literally felt myself wanting to become an introvert. And it's like, it's not for my team that works from home. I'm now so much more like, we need to have weekly meetings. We need to do this. We need to do that, because there's something about not having community that absolutely eats away. Maybe that's just the extrovert in me. You know
No,
what I
man.
mean? But
No,
it's
I'm with you.
yeah, yeah, it is like the having the being, having the networking, having those, I think this is your 15th cup of coffee from a different coffee shop today. Every time I talk to you, you're at some
Dude,
cool coffee shop.
Brick House, shout out to Kira at Brick House on Meeting Street in West Columbia. The coffee's amazing. That is a smoked salted caramel
Okay.
latte.
I thought you were about to say
It's
smoked salmon or something like that. I
no,
was
it's
about
a
to say, whoa, bro, you're
no, 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 no. It's a salted caramel, but it's
okay.
smoked salt. It's
Okay.
delicious.
That's
Hit them
awesome,
up.
man. I'm gonna have to take you up on that. I'll let you take me there,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, but man, it just incredible overall. I think that what you've done is incredible. The way that you've done. I would ask anyone here, and we'll go ahead and take this second to plug it. And we'll plug it again at the very end. How can people see what I'm saying? Where can they find you? How can they see how just how beautifully you craft this
Sure,
this
sure.
business?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Jonathan Hawley, LinkedIn, Facebook. Instagram is at Headshot Studio SC, and the website is headshotstudiosc.com.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. So diving back in, and we'll once again, I wanted to go ahead and give that, and we'll give it again here at the very end. We're getting close to wrapping up, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into you diving into this niche thing, because once again, our whole goal here is to create actionable items. Okay. So there's the two things. I want to talk a little bit more about the niche. I want to talk a little more about you investing in this mastermind type group.
Sure.
Okay. And so starting off with the mastermind group, what your expectation? I mean, it couldn't have been easy to write the check. I'm sure it wasn't a cheap check. Okay.
Sure.
What were your expectations going in, and how have they been exceeded, or maybe not so much, since you've been here in this mode?
Yeah. So the headshot crew is amazing. So what I love about it that I didn't expect, and this is totally different than most mastermind groups. Peter has a 24-hour Zoom call going all the time. He's got so many people involved in this group. You can hop on the Zoom call at any point during the day, and there's going to be somewhere, some mentors somewhere across the world hosting that Zoom for that hour, that 2 hours. And you can get on there and you can share your screen and you can look at photos you've taken. You can talk about gear. You can talk about sales. You can talk about whatever you want,
Wow.
right? And there's a whole network of people across the globe that are all trying to build a headshot business.
Would you
And they're
say it's the community, like, is having other people that know what you're going through? Yeah.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
think that's
Yeah.
just incredible.
Yeah, and so I've learned a ton about sales in that group. I've learned a ton about marketing in that group. I've learned a ton about psychology and
Mhm.
interacting with people in that group, right? And one of the things that I've had to learn since I went into business on my own is, when you're first starting out on your own, it's easy to have this scarcity mentality of, oh, I've got to protect what I have
Mhm.
and build and build and build and build. And I've just had to learn over the last 3 or 4 years of working for myself is an abundance mentality, and
Amen.
there is so much opportunity and there is so much work. It is ridiculous to see your competition. You have competition, but it
Yeah.
is ridiculous not to work together and try and help each other.
Man, that is so huge. And I'll tell you that, like, it's one of the nothing I've done is on my own. It's so many people that have shared with me that have helped me. And that's what I'm begging you guys. If you don't have people in your industry, in your realm, go find it and don't be scared to invest in yourself. You're growing, you're doing things that are going to take you to that next level. I was in a mastermind group meeting yesterday, and the whole goal was talking about our first quarter and going into the second quarter. It's a mastermind. Literally, the name of it is to be named later mastermind, because there's so many different groups. But this is a group that I have a mentor that said, Jeremy, I'm part of this mastermind. Da, da, da. He said, but it's full. Like, you can't get in. Like, it's been like 3, 4 years. We've built up collectively to this thing, but I'm challenging you to go create it because everyone else I tell that to, they don't do it. Well, you know what I did? Said, I'm gonna freaking do it. And so I created it. And we have these great group of people. We have this mastermind. But what we're talking about yesterday is we're talking about in the first quarter, and three different people started talking about, hey, we've had to actually take a step back. We've had to work on some processes because we're getting to a point where we're ready to level up. But until there's a time where what you're doing up till now, it's not going to work for the next evolution of your agency. And are you willing to look at yourself in the face and say, hey, we've got to make a change? Even if we take one step back for a moment, because we know that we're going to launch forward, and that to me is what makes it successful. Not someone who's willing to change every time the wind blows a different direction, but someone who's willing to look at everything and say, hey, you know what? We're going to have to invest.
Mhm.
This isn't a bill, this is an investment. And then boom, they take off from it. And I think you're a huge example of that. And so that's just an incredible thing that that you're sharing. And then a little bit more on the niche thing. Was it the mastermind group that kind of created that? Like, you found it and said, you know what, I'm just going to niche down this, or was there something or some research or something that you did that helped you determine, for our listeners out there, whether they're mechanics or they're physical therapists or whatever they are, to say, like, this is how you can figure out what your industry needs?
I probably wouldn't be doing photography as a job if it wasn't for the headshot crew because it
Okay.
was just so it was interesting and awesome and all of those things to get in a group and seeing people niche down and dedicated to being the best at headshots,
Mm.
right? And everybody's focused on the same thing and there's so many resources and it's I mean there's a ton of opportunity. Everybody's got a face.
Sure.
Everybody needs a photo, right? And you know, the quality and the style that the headshot crew produces is great. I love it. I think a lot of people love it. They're buying it, right? And you know, I got excited because I was a part of a community that was
Hmm.
excited about what they were doing,
Yeah.
right? And it made it really easy to decide this is what I'm going to stick with because I've got the community and the support around me
When
to
you
do it.
put yourself around
Yeah.
people that choose to be optimistic, it is it it unleashes something inside of you.
Yeah, and I'm not the most optimistic
Sure.
person. I am like super candid and generally a pessimist, right? But I have learned to really enjoy being around people that challenge me in those
Sure.
areas.
And I think that, like, it's like, kind of like we had an episode not too long ago, Are You Too Nice? And some like love is also challenging.
Sure.
You know, love is not just saying, "Oh, do whatever you want." Like we sometimes people say, I don't want to be this because I don't want to make them feel." But it's like love sometimes is being willing to challenge somebody
Right.
and doing what's best. And so to end, we like to end all of our shows off with maybe something. So it has whether it was 10 years ago, whether it was yesterday. Is there some kind of content, a book, a podcast, something other than the Purpose Over Profits podcast, obviously, that you've taken in that you'd say, man, like people need to hear this.
Yes, yes, there is. And so I'm going to pull it up because I knew you were going to ask this question. And so I wrote it down so I don't screw it up. So it's a Mark Twain quote, and it's broad, wholesome, and charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all of one's lifetime. And, as we consume content on platforms that are fed by algorithms that are designed to like reinforce our behavior, right? It's really nice to work and meet so many individuals and learn and get to interact with so many people that have different stories, right? So, people like Ashanta, who came in last week for a headshot, and she is building a nonprofit because she wants to empower girls back in Boston to be entrepreneurs,
Wow.
right? And so we got some amazing content. We got some fun personality, but we also got some real bold, serious, like empowered looking photos for her website, right? And it was awesome. People like Brian. Brian called me last week. He came in last year for a headshot. He's an older gentleman. He came in last year for a headshot because he wanted to update his photo for his online dating profile,
There we go.
right? Awesome. He called me last week. He's now engaged and he just booked a session for his fiance, right?
Wow.
And people like Hope. Hope came in. She wanted a headshot because she wanted a photo that she could print and give to her children and her grandchildren,
Wow.
right? And so I love meeting these people and hearing about their stories and giving them great images that they can use for a long time and they'll get great use out of.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. It shows that once again, while we wanted you here, you embody purpose over profit. So I just want to say thank you. Once again, I'm going to give you the opportunity just to share with people how they can meet with you. I'm sure that you're more than happy to help even another photographer. If
Yeah,
they say, hey,
absolutely.
I have questions, you're more than happy for that. So once again, go ahead and let people know
Yeah.
how they can get you.
So I'm in the same building you are, the expansive building downtown at
Mhm.
the corner of Main and Lady. And so I'd love to, shoot me a text or find me on Instagram,
Yeah.
right? At Headshot Studio SC or at Johnny Hawley, JohnnyHawley. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. The website is headshotstudiosc.com.
That's right. And guys, he has to spend a lot of time with me. So you know that if he can put up with me, he can take care of you. So guys, it's been awesome. Remember, just continuously always look to grow and remember purpose over profits. We'll see you next time.
Peace.